Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
The kids scared me. Grandpa was taking a nap. Yeah, why don't you kids scoot on and go back to bed now?
No, Grandpa, tell us a story.
What say you say? You want a story?
Yeah.
Well, okay, calm down now. Settle down and get still. Old Grandpapa's gonna tell you a story.
Story.
Yeah, this story goes way back to when I was a young man, an artist. This was way before all your gizmos and gadgets. Back when we had real fire and no flying cars or social media. So get comfy, kids, for the story of a lifetime. It all started back in Los Angeles, way back in the early aughts. Your old Grandpappy was minding his own business, just trying to make a living in the art world.
Okay. So we are not going to go back in time and do some sort of radio play with this episode, but I just thought it was fun to start off with a little bit of a flashback story around the fake future campfire. Right around the fake future campfire. And, get cozy, because sometimes it is fun and informative to take a trip down memory lane as an artist, to remember where you came from, all the things you've done. When I think back to all the years and decades and training, even back to childhood, all the stuff I've done as an artist, learning how to draw, learning how to paint, learning how to get interested in film and incorporate that into my stuff, and all the comedy and the sketches and the home movies my best friend Ryan O'Malley and I made as kids, all these little sketches we did and we created and wrote, all these magazines we did, and then going off to college and becoming an artist and an actor and becoming a teacher's assistant and, getting the codes to the art building and going in late at night by myself, 1 a.m, having the whole art studio to myself and all these materials and just creating whatever I wanted to, sneaking around, doing stuff that wasn't part of the curriculum because I just had that passion to do it, and then learning how to take that from there and take the jump, take the trip down to Los Angeles, do all these things, start building the career. Yes, trying to juggle art and film, but, mainly becoming an artist like my mentor told me I was going to be, and he was correct, And it's just fun to look back at all of the shows, all the pop-up shows, all the times I lugged my work around town, the big gigs, the small gigs, the forgettable gigs, the people that stole my artwork, the places I worked where I hung my art in restaurants and people bought stuff off the walls and heard stories. And I dreamt about the time when I was going to become a full-time professional artist, making progress with your style, staying up late at night, drinking too much, smoking cigarettes, having ideas, painting for 14 hours, 16 hours straight until I'm delirious, getting up and going to work, not being able to wait till I can come home and do art again. And then, making connections here and there, learning how to submit my work, learning how to... Back in my day, we didn't have the digital cameras. Well, we had digital cameras, but we didn't have the ability to submit stuff online. You had to submit a lot of stuff with slides. I go back to the slide days where you submit work on a slide and you have to write a proposal and all these things. You don't just fill out a form online. You have to really do all the hard work and put the portfolio together and pound the pavement, go into galleries, walk into galleries. It's a different world now. In a lot of ways, it's easier because there's so many things at our fingertips that we can do from home. But in a lot of ways, it is more difficult too because there's so much competition out there and there's like an embarrassment of riches and of choices, and it's kind of hard to know which one to do. But I would still take this landscape more than the one that I had growing up, where you felt disconnected. You felt like there was such a level of gatekeepers out there who were just hard to break through and get their attention and get them to take you on and believe you. And if you didn't know somebody or if you didn't go through the right program, it was much more difficult. So you had to kind of like do a grassroots thing where you built established relationships, did some pop-ups, met some people, met some other artists, made connections, and then that turned into something else, made some sales here and there, got the word out, got people in and out of your studio. But, just going back down memory lane, all the times that I would drive to the desert to pick up a painting when it was sold, 3 hours up and back, coming to get artwork, the times that I had paintings stolen, the times that I had to track down my work in Hollywood to find that it was only damaged and, I couldn't use it anymore. Those heartbreaking times. And then the times where I was doing amazing things, like I got hooked up with the Obama gig. And then, I got to do 13 paintings of the president. It was just this mad dash to get this done. And then going to DC, being there for the inauguration, going to the inaugural Purple Ball, meeting all my idols, Ed Harris, the full circle moment of going from watching Pollock, drinking alcohol, at night after painting, watching Pollock, dreaming of those times and loving this movie, then getting to meet him and his wife, who played Peggy Guggenheim, sharing a cigarette with her outside of the ball, talking for 15 minutes, meeting Ashley Judd and Josh Lucas and Amy Brenneman and Il Divo, and doing like the David Lynch gig at the Key Club and music and auctioning my work off among only 2 other artists, one of them being David Lynch, who, rest in peace, is no longer with us. But these things, you will find, and maybe you have already, but if you haven't and you're a young artist, you'll find that you'll start to just amass these stories, these scars, these learning experiences over time of doing all this stuff, lugging your work around town, doing shows that didn't amount to anything, or at least you didn't think amounted to anything. Not selling work, sometimes selling work, getting into big galleries and thinking it's going to be the final thing for you. Everything's going to snap into place and you're going to be on easy street after this, and then learning, oh, that's not it. Maybe you're not going to even show with them again, or maybe you weren't the right fit for them. Maybe you were, and maybe this became, a launching pad for you. But sometimes you got to just learn the hard way that you have to find your little niche. You got to find the ways you want to fit your art into the art world and carve out your little piece and carve out your little story. So many things that I can remember. Creating this painting of a self-portrait of me that I was really proud of. I was urged to paint it by my ex-girlfriend. And, I painted this, it was kind of like a semi-nude, but it was a self-portrait, but it ended up becoming one of my favorite paintings of all time. Sending it to London, not having the money or the connections to have it be picked up, and it didn't get into the show, and it just got stolen. I don't even know where this painting is. To this day, I have a picture of it, not a great one, because this was before we had wonderful digital cameras and everything's on your phone now. You can take a great picture on your phone. We would just have these digital cameras that had like very low megapixels. So I barely even have pictures of these. Some of the stuff of like going through the trials and tribulations of drinking and having some crazy dark moments and coming home and painting, waking up in an alleyway in Hollywood off of these stories, off of these, these unfortunate moments that you turn regret into power and you turn it into creativity. All of these things, making connections, starting to figure it out, starting to learn how to put your stuff up on art marketplaces and carve out your little niche, and then finding galleries that you do fit into, like Shockbox, where you have people that are like a community of peers, people that are not only doing great work, but also are lifting you up and who are a big support system, finding these little things here and there, reflecting on other missed opportunities, doing shows that you think were going to be amazing. I did a show at the Magic Castle, which not a lot of artists get invited to be at the Magic Castle. I did this Magic Castle show, and, I was one of the only artists there, and we were auctioning our work off, and it just didn't end up really delivering. And, I had to pay for a ticket on top of that, which I didn't know. So I was like $500 out in a time when I was really poor. I didn't sell any work, had to like take a night or two off of my job and go show up at this place because I thought I was going to really be hobnobbing with celebrities and selling work and, making up for my shift and then some, building some good collectors, some maybe famous collectors. And then nothing happened and fell flat on my face with that one. There's a lot of those experiences where you just learn you never know what's going to happen, but sometimes you do have to be a little more choosy with the things that you're doing. Sometimes you have to kind of develop that thick skin where you learn to say no to certain things. And sometimes it's just doing an amount of shows. Like I've probably done, I don't even know anymore, 150 to 200 shows I have under my belt. A lot of them I don't have on my resume because some of them are not worthy of putting on my resume. But I've done long distance shows. I've done long distance solo shows. I've done, a lot of pop-up shows. I've done a lot of figurative surrealist shows. Did La Luz de Jesus, which is an amazing gallery. If you haven't checked that out, did a bunch of those. Did a lot of stuff downtown, lugging your work downtown in rush hour, doing public works stuff. I did a thing for Motor Avenue Association when I lived in Palms, and I did like 3 big paintings, and I had to take work off on that too to do these on the weekend, and I didn't get paid, and I ended up having to touch them up because it was raining, and long story short, they came out really well. But you go back into these neighborhoods, some of them were graffitied over so much that they just got painted over. The city painted them over. So some of these things, you have a lot of work out there that sometimes just gets lost. It's in your memories. So another lesson from these things is to take pictures, document what you can. I know I'm talking about some of the times when I didn't have the ability to do that, but now we do. Always document, have somebody there, put it on social media if you can, but also, register your stuff on sites, document it on your website, put links when you can. So it's always there, even if it's taken away at some point by the city or there's some, natural disaster and it goes away, you will still have a snapshot of that in time. But these are all things that are wonderful learning experiences, and they're stepping stones on the path to becoming a seasoned artist who's done a lot of stuff, has a lot of different types of work and different types of shows under your belt. And these are just nostalgic. Yes. Sometimes some of these the worst stories that you have, I've got so many bad ones. I've got, I had a documentary that was being made of me, and, they were filming me at a bunch of show openings. I just so happened to have like 5 show openings at this time, and they were filming me. They were doing all this stuff. We were doing all this behind the scenes stuff. And then they just went dark at some point, and my wife realized, she's like, hey, I saw them on social media. They have this other artist on there. They had found another artist who I was showing with who had gotten into a major car accident and damaged his brain. He was a lawyer before this, and then all of a sudden he could paint. Overnight, he just became this like creative fountain, and he was just painting stuff. He quit his job as a lawyer. He's putting his work up on social media. He's selling his work. It was just like this sexy story. But these people never even told me, oh, by the way, we're going to go with this guy instead after already filming a bunch of footage with you, finding out the hard way that some people are kind of spineless. Some people don't communicate well. And you've got to be careful with who you give your attention and give your creativity, give your heart to, give your passion to. You got to be careful of these. But I've also had documentaries that were made by wonderful people who I'm now friends with, interviews that I've had with people that I'm now friends with, and we work together on other projects. And, so you build things. It's like this just up and down roller coaster in the art world, especially in the city. You're living in the city, a big city like Los Angeles or New York. You're going to meet all types of people. You're going to be promised all types of things. You're going to sometimes deliver, and sometimes they're going to deliver, and sometimes you're going to be riding high, and, other times you're going to be falling flat on your face. And you know what? It's all wonderful at some point to look back on and reflect on all these stories, all these times. I remember doing a show in Colorado, a solo show, and I got a message from the gallery owner that this little painting I painted, it was called Little Girl, and it was kind of this almost apparition little girl. And she said she came to the gallery to open up one day, and there was just this fog right around this little girl, almost like there was the breath coming off of her, and it was nowhere else. It had this little spooky apparition-like quality to it. All these little things that happen that stick with you. You know, people who you meet from different parts of the world, Saudi Arabia, India, South America, all these people you meet and collect your work, and eventually they have your work hanging in their homes, and people from different parts of the world are coming into their houses and having tea and having dinner and looking at your work and then telling stories, and you're a part of their world and their fabric. It's just a crazy, wonderful world that we get a chance to be in as artists. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about nostalgia and thinking about these and sharing some of these little stream of consciousness, bits of personal stories and growth that I've had over the years as an artist. And hopefully there's something in there that makes you at least excited to be an artist, excited to try new things, excited to fall on your face and pick yourself back up, excited to have more things under your belt that you can tell stories about later. And also maybe there's some nuggets in there of just things that can inspire you of how to try or search out new opportunities or learn how to say no to some things, learn how to develop a better gauge of how you decide to do a project or not. So there's a lot of stuff in there. Just wanted to share this on a cloudy afternoon, a little bit different format today. But hey, I'm always looking to do things that are in the moment and present in my mind and share them with you. So I hope you found it valuable. I'm going to leave it at that. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Take care of yourselves and everybody else. And we will see you on the next episode.
I think he's asleep. Grandpa! He's asleep. Good story, Grandpa. I'm tired of the fire. Let's change it to something else. There we go, much better. Isn't the future glorious?
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.